Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. The St. Joseph County Area Plan Commission voted Tuesday to give an unfavorable recommendation to rezoning more than 1,000 acres of farmland near New Carlisle for a $12 billion data center project. Much of the debate among county officials and residents centered on the county's 2045 comprehensive plan, which clearly designates the land for agricultural use. Mary Fisherman lives in New Carlisle.
How is anyone or any business supposed to plan on building their future in or around New Carlisle or anywhere in St. Joe County if a comp plan that took over 3 years to complete and was approved by this county is tossed aside?
The proposal now goes to the county council for consideration. Miami-based I-Squared Capital announced plans today to acquire a majority equity interest in Oregon-based Entek. Entek said the $800 million investment will support the construction of its 1.4 million square foot battery separator manufacturing facility in Terre Haute. The investment comes in addition to a U.S. Department of Energy loan of up to $1.3 billion that was awarded to Entek last November. The project, construction for which began 2 years ago, is expected to create 635 jobs by the end of 2027. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources and Park Trails Alliance have cut the ribbon on the first phase of the new Parke Community Rail Trail in the Parke County town of Rosedale. The 2.6-mile hard surface trail segment is part of an overall $6.4 million project that is being built over 5 phases. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.
The State Budget Committee today approved a total of nearly $100 million for the Indiana Department of Natural Resources for 3 state park-related projects. IIB's Marek Mazurek has more.
The committee approved $60 million to support renovations at Prophetstown State Park in Tippecanoe County, as well as improvements across the entire state park network. Greg Sorrells, Deputy Director and Chief Financial Officer for the DNR, told committee members that $25 million will go to the Prophetstown State Park renovations that include a new heritage area, trail development, aquatic center restoration, and the addition of a 120-site campground. Another $25 million will go toward campground improvements, 55 playgrounds, trail structure improvements, and accessibility throughout the state park network. The committee also approved $25 million in state funding that would be used to rebuild the campground at McCormick Creek State Park, which was severely damaged by a tornado in 2023. Lastly, more than $11 million was approved to buy furniture, fixtures, and equipment at Potato Creek Lodge, which is currently under construction at Potato Creek State Park in St. Joe County. Work on that $100 million facility is still about 2 to 3 years away from completion, but Sorrells said the procurement process will take at least 1 year to complete due to supply chain issues. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Bloomington-based Cook Medical this month announced a partnership with diagnostic imaging giant Siemens Healthineers to develop medical devices specifically designed for use in interventional magnetic resonance imaging, or IMRI. The companies are creating the IMRI Suite, the first integrated ionizing radiation-free product to provide clinicians with real-time guidance for procedures requiring delicacy and precision, such as interventional oncology for soft tissue tumors, pediatrics, and structural heart procedures. Interventional MRI is used for procedures including biopsies or tumor resections. The agreement comes less than 2 months after Cook announced it had created a new IMRI division, citing the need for devices compatible with the growing use of interventional MRI. Go to many Indiana college campuses and peek in a classroom or stroll across the quad, and you might notice something. There are fewer male students than female, often way fewer. In raw numbers, 72,419 more girls than boys who graduated from Indiana high schools from 2009 to 2023 went on to higher education, according to the Indiana Commission for Higher Education's college-going dashboard. Richard Fry, a senior researcher at Pew Research Center, told the IBJ that a 2021 survey found different reasons that men and women had chosen not to attend college.
Equal numbers of women and men said, I couldn't afford it. But where there were differences were more in what we might call personal reasons to not go to college. Men were more likely to say, I didn't go to college because I just didn't want to, than women were. And the men also were sort of more likely to say, I really didn't need a bachelor's degree for my career, for the kind of job that I wanted.
A survey of more than 1,200 Hoosiers conducted by the Higher Ed Commission in 2021 found that 87% somewhat or strongly agreed that college was too expensive, and 60% somewhat or strongly agreed that the value of college is declining. Indiana Fever legend Tamika Catchings is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Indiana's biggest names, their most personal stories. The Business and Beyond podcast brings you one-on-one conversations with the state's top leaders in business, sports, politics, and culture. If you want to know what makes Indiana tick, this is your show. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcasts.com.
Want to give your team a real edge? The IBJ Group Plan delivers unlimited access to every story, every report, every video from IBJ and Inside Indiana Business for your whole team. Cover some or all of your employees with one simple payment. The more you add, the more you save. It's smart, it's flexible, and it saves you up to 30% off the standard rate. Already have IBJ subscribers in your office? Group up and save big. Learn more and get started now at ibj.com/group-plan.